Hello my friends, and welcome to the Drunken Kelts gaming channel. I'm Baltic and this is my review of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Now, Fallen Order is a third-person action game which borrows heavily from some of the biggest games of the last few years. Despite some flaws and while not being particularly innovative, it still manages to be an enjoyable romp through the Star Wars universe. The story places you in the role of Cal Kestis, a Jedi Padawan forced into hiding after the infamous events of Order 66. While working as a scrapper, events conspire that will expose Cal as a Force user, and so begins your adventure. You will quickly meet up with former Jedi Keir Junda and a ship's captain, Kryze, the plucky comic relief, and then together you will set out on a mission that could determine the fate of the Jedi Order, while being relentlessly pursued by the Galactic Empire's Inquisitors. Now, the story here is serviceable, and it gets a bit better towards the end of the game. There are a few plot twists you'll see coming a mile off, and a couple of surprises you might not, but overall it has some very interesting moments that are enough to make you want to go and see it all the way through to the end. Now, Cal as a character is rather bland, and I found the other main characters in the game to be a bit hit and miss, to be honest, with your droid companion BD-1 being a personal highlight. Now, as I said, the game takes some major influences from the Dark Souls and Uncharted series, and although it doesn't quite manage to rival the best thing from either franchise, the combat is nowhere near as tight as Dark Souls, for instance, and likewise the few boss battles you encounter are not even in the same league as the Dark Souls games. It does implement a meditation point system that works much the same as your bonfires do, allowing you to refill your health, your stim packs, and respawn enemies and acquire new skills. It also takes some level design cues from the Dark Souls series with unlockable shortcuts and connecting areas that aren't quite done with the same eloquence as in the Souls games. Now, the traversal, the story, and action set pieces don't quite measure up to the likes of Uncharted, but certainly bring some thrilling moments to you throughout the campaign. The combat for the most part is actually pretty basic. You have your dodge and parry buttons along with a normal attack, and then force focus attacks that are all tied to a rechargeable meter. With simple things like even a heavy strike being tied to this force energy, it can become frustrating, especially early in the game before you upgrade and learn new force abilities. Combat can be unforgiving, especially faced with multiple foes at first, but that being said, once you do have all your powers, it does a pretty good job of making you feel like a badass powerful Jedi, able to take on hordes of enemies at a time. The traversal for me, while enjoyable, can be a little janky. In particular, the rope jumping sections feel rather awkward. Now, this gets better after unlocking a certain force ability, which are few and far between throughout the game, but also incredibly useful and add much needed variety to the combat and platforming. The upgrades do seem to be drip fed to you along the way, however, and it's all pretty standard affair, with things like more health and more powerful versions of moves being available to purchase, with skill points gained by levelling up. Now, the game tries to offer some freedom as to which path you take along the way, with your ship acting as a hub from which you can travel to a few different planets from early on. Now, I found it better just to follow the main objective, as when I did not, there were inaccessible areas and definite difficulty spikes designed to be tackled farther into the game. There are also areas you'll need to return to in order to access once equipped with certain upgrades, and that gives it a slight Metroidvania flavour in the exploration. Now, the graphics here are pretty good, with decent animations and detailed character models, all faithfully reproduced from the films. There are also some truly epic vistas spread across several varied environments, and there are a few big action set pieces where the game really shines, and it's a joy to behold the action unfolding on screen. There are also several visual customization options to be had, with new skins for your ship and your lovable robot companion BD-1, to various lightsaber parts and ponchos and jackets for Cal. Now, the game, however, does lack the final polish of other AAA titles, I think, and is a little rough round the edges. Now, sound design, as for most Star Wars games, is exceptional, with a great score and those oh so familiar sound effects. Good voice acting helps fight some of the flat writing in parts and is done well overall. Despite its flaws, Fallen Order does have a certain charm, and it delivers a much needed Star Wars single player experience that fans have been craving. Now, I enjoyed my time with the game, and I would happily recommend it to any fans of the genre or any big Star Wars fans. There's plenty of Easter eggs in there to be found as well. And even although it doesn't quite excel at any one aspect, it does successfully marry together familiar gameplay mechanics in the Star Wars universe to create a memorable experience well worth your time. Now this is a great first entry into the type of genre from developers Respawn Entertainment, and here's hoping we get to see them refine and perfect the formula even more in a sequel. 7.8 out of 10 is what I'll rate Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and as always, let me know what you think about the game in the comments. Have you tried it out yet? Are you going to try it out? Are you happy with what you've seen? Remember, hit that subscribe button. Stay safe, happy gaming, and always, till next time, catch you.